Now, Boston legal James Spader needs to seriously work on his pickup lines. Take a look.
I couldn't help but overhear your conversation with Shirley. I happen to know sometimes grief can trigger the libido. It's got something to do with death causing a biological need to propagate the species. Evidently, after 9/11, people were running around like rabbits.
Really? I did not know that.
If I could ever be of service to help you cope.
I mean, how could she resist? Please welcome back James Spader.
Don't say anything.
Hi, James.
How are you?
How you doing? Nice to see you.
Good to see you. How are you, honey? What do you got there? What do you got there?
Actually, they're very kind, and when you're a guest on the show, there's a gift bag out in the dressing room, and I was going through my gift bag, and there were a lot of mints and a lot of very useful things. This, on the other hand, and I don't intend this to be a homophobic gesture at all, but, this was the perfect panty that I found, and I'm sure somebody in the audience could use this.
My friend Carol, how nice. She needed the perfect panty. We've been talking about it for years.
There may be a bra there as well, I think.
You know what? This is a lot of sexy talk, and your character there is all about sex. He's seen a sex therapist. He wants to get in everybody's panties. What's going on?
How can you follow that hot topic?
I know, it's hard, right?
No, I'm telling you, in the green room, people are like fighting to get out here and involve themselves.
Yeah. Well, what do you think? What's your point of view?
Well, no, my favorite thing about it was how the celebrity feud grew into a second celebrity feud.
Right, now I'm in a feud.
Yeah, right, and everybody wants in. Everybody wants in.
Do you want to start a feud with anybody today?
No,
Have you ever had a celebrity feud?
Never. No, I did have, actually, there was an imagined celebrity feud.
Some of them are only imagined.
Yeah, well, it was an imagined one in that I do this show with Bill Shatner, and they, rag had picked up the story that we were feuding and fighting on the set and so on. And the ironic thing is that everything that was attributed to Bill in the story actually could probably be attributed to me, and that he was late, that he was constantly sitting around the craft service table, that he was, and that actually all could be said about me, but there was no feud. But the only thing that bothered me about it was that Bill, there was a big, huge photograph, big full-page photograph in whatever it was, the Inquirer or Star or whatever, of Bill and I, a shot from the show, because they couldn't get another shot of us actually feuding, but it was a shot from the show where our two characters were, having some sort of confrontation. Profile, both of us standing like this at each other, sort of with our chests out and everything like this. Well, Bill and I, I've put on a few pounds, and Bill and I like this, our stomachs are sort of touching, so like that. And he's like this with his stomach.
Mine does that too.
Right, so and we're like this, looking at each other. And I'm telling you, I forget the story. All I did was just look at the picture.
Well, it's hard because when you're on a show called The View, you're about to get in celebrity feuds because you talk about celebrity pop culture,
Right.
We're always driving the bookers crazy. Oh, they'll never come on. They'll never come on. Well, that's the way it goes.
It's a very risky profession.
You and I have a similar thing. Our kids don't watch TV, and you were raised in a house that wasn't allowed to watch TV. And
no TV.
How did you find that? Because a lot of my friends think that's very strange.
Well, no, even stranger was actually what happened in my household, which was TV was sort of eked out in small doses, and there were certain shows that were deemed appropriate, but it was odd how it was picked, and I'm not entirely sure what it was, and until sitting in the green room just now talking to someone about it, and I started to reflect on what it was that my parents allowed me to watch, and it all seems rather strange now. I took violin lessons for about 3 to 5 months before the violin teacher just was ready to pull his hair out, and finally, I'll never forget that fateful day where I walked in for this violin, and I was really awful, and the violin, for the first 10 years of playing violin, sounds horrendous, and I was really awful and had no interest, really. But anyway, I remember the fateful day that I went in for the lesson, and the violin teacher turned to my mother and said, "Could I speak to you outside just for a minute?" And took her outside, and I sat there waiting, and in the room, sitting there with my pathetic little violin, and I see my mother and he in there like this, and she's just nodding. I know. And she comes in and she says, "Come on, we're going to go now." And he said, I just can't teach him anymore. I cannot teach him for another moment. But if I had a good violin lesson, I was allowed to watch F Troop.
Wow. That's interesting. What was the message of F Troop that your parents felt was important?
I don't know.
Me neither, but I love that show.
It's an enormously racist, awful...
You guys are so young.
They never saw it, obviously. They never
We
saw
didn't
it.
want to remember the theme song?
Right, remember Agarn?
The end of the Civil War was here, and quite accidentally. A hero, you see, a love
You guys keep singing
You must be wonderful in the violin.
We're going to come back with more James Spader. We're going to let them sing. Stick with us. We'll be back.
So it's going to be weird.
Listen, you two, Piacchiarone, shut up for a minute. You know, on your Halloween show, on your show Boston
Yes,
Legal,
yes.
you and William Shatner dressed up as girls.
As the Lennon sisters,
Oh,
actually.
the Lennon sisters,
Yes.
they were great. I remember
And
the
I did
Lennon
not find that homophobic.
You didn't?
I did not find it homophobic
I'm
at
going to tell you
all.
something. Men dressing up as women is really
William
underrated.
Shatner as a woman.
It's fantastic. And I tell you, as I get a little bit older, you know, and I'm a little cushier in places, you know, women's clothing is really much more conducive to my body. It's really...
What did you feel like in a girdle? Because
That's a sex.
No. Body shapers are better than... Body shapers than you were. Exactly. No, but nylons are fantastic.
used to
Everything
wear
sort of slips
ladies-
and slides all over it and everything.
You know who used to wear ladies' panties? He said they were more comfortable. Cary Grant. The great
he's
Cary
not wrong.
Grant
He's
used to
not
wear
wrong.
little girls' panties because he said they were comfortable.
Right, he wasn't wrong about panties or LSD. I think he was... No, we did. We dressed up as the Lennon sisters in the show, and I looked pretty good. I mean, sort of demure, you know. I had, put on a little makeup and everything. Nothing trashy, but...
How does it feel to be in the world as a woman? There's got to be some other feeling that you have, the way people look at you, etc.
Well, I mean, I'm not out traipsing about going to the grocery store. I mean, I was on a TV set.
Yeah.
I mean,
You weren't tempted to kind of just keep the costume
Listen,
on and...
I still have to take this and drive it around the block. I haven't done it yet, and I think, I'll have to come back on after I've done that. And,
But didn't you feel like, gee, I'm prettier than Shatner?
I don't know. I was definitely prettier than Shatner.
That's what I mean.
No.
So you had the woman thing going.
No, without a doubt. No. We were sort of standing next to each other, sort of checking each other.
Well, that's what we do sometimes.
No, without a doubt. We were doing that.
With the New York Times just did that article, it called it a bromance. You know what I mean? You have this kind of like relationship with one another on the show where it's not just about like sitting back and watching a game.
It's a very strange friendship. You know, and there's a two-parter, two episodes that are all one story, and that start this Sunday and then follow on Tuesday. And the second part of the two-parter really focuses on that relationship. And I think that the people, I live in a vacuum to a certain degree, so I'm never really sure of people's responses or how they're reacting to the show until I do press and start to do publicity and start to talk to people and hear the sort of questions that they ask. And the questions most asked about the show is that friendship and the sort of strange, odd friendship between Alan and Denny on the show, and so it was sort of due to do an episode really about that, and that episode focuses directly about.
And it's about time for Sunday to come because it's been a while since everybody's seen you, so we have to go. Unfortunately, we like you here, so come back again and you can get in a Celebrity Feud. Our thanks to James. You can catch a two-part